Kudo maufi no metole. What we said was in the Agile language, greeting to all African people. We are His Imperial Majesty also Agelogbagan, the Ganlodo Hosu, or the monarch of Ganlodo. Contact information is in the video, not comment area, but the description area. Axosu means a monarch, a male monarch. Aho by itself is monarch, just like Aba is for the Yoruba people. So we just want to say that because there are people tuning in and they have questions, and we have a lot of videos and a lot of information, and some of them are not looking at that before they look at certain videos. They might see this as the latest video. But this video is just to speak very briefly on our current celebration season at Ganlodo. It is a very Ganji or auspicious season. Nat Turner's Revolt for Sovereignty, Nana Kwabena Boateng, mostly known by most people as Marcus Garvey, his birthday, the founding of the UNIA, all this kind of going back to back. Haitian Revolution, successful sovereignty movement. So this weekend is we celebrate Kilombonu, or what most people know as Maroonage. Now, for those that are not clear on Maroonage, the Maroon, this is a term, is once again, we speak Yoruba and Fon and Swahili, right? The majority of our people don't. So we have to use terminology that people know. So before somebody say, oh, I thought they were so African and this and that, why is he using the European term? You know, people find something, you know. Well, that same person wouldn't be able to understand when I say, if we didn't explain the word Kilombonu, we would have to use the word maroon for them. Go figure. So the Maroons use the Spanish term. The Maroons, Spanish/English. The Maroons were those people who either escaped captivity or so-called slavery, or never were in captivity. They may have escaped, let's say when the boat came over with them on it, and they never were on a plantation. But a vast majority of Maroons were once on a plantation, and they got away. Could have been within days, could have been within years. And they formed societies. In Brazil, they were called quilombos. And especially in Brazil, they were more than just societies. They were monarchies of themselves. They had their own kings or queens or both. Chiefs, systems just like we had and have in Africa to this day. And of course, we have them here in the Americas, as you see in examples like us. These are the people that separated themselves from the chaos of captivity, but also, you have to keep in mind, they were also separating themselves from the Negro, the one that actually had become enslaved, the one that wasn't a captive anymore, the one that was a slave. And a slave, the difference between a slave and a captive, a slave accepts their position of bondage. A captive, 9 times out of 10, 10 out of 10 is always thinking of ways to get away or get rid of the so-called master. This is why one reason the Quilombos, if they took somebody there from a plantation, they blindfolded them, they took all of these funny paths to the Quilombo. You know, most of these people wouldn't know their way back unless they were led back by a Kilombonu metal. Kilombonu metal, combination of the Congo word Quilombo, which means encampment, but it's an intentional encampment for sovereignty. And Numetal, metal or Numetal is a person of a Quilombo. Now that is a person of a Kilombonu mindset, Maroonage mindset, but also physically part of some organization, some monarchy, whatever, that is about Quilombo thinking, right? Quilombo thinking meaning family development, nation building, sovereignty, removing the enemy or removing yourself from the enemy within and with enemy out, meaning the ones that look like us. That's the enemy within. So now we know what a Kilombonu Meto is, or a Maroonich, Kilombonu. Monarchy is a Kilombonu Hotome. Hotome is a Aja word that means monarchy, right? So we are celebrating the spirit of Maroonich, the idea of Maroonich, the practicality and the legwork of Maroonich, as we do at Ganlodo. And we commend any other organizations out there that have a Maroon ideology, or at least a nationalist ideology. We're celebrating Maroons themselves. What do we do during this time? As we believe Dr. Asa Hilliard, Ibaratorun, he wrote a book called, The Maroon Within. Look for the Maroon within yourself. If you have Maroon heritage, elevate that during this time. Now, we want to be very clear, because with all this information out here now, there's no reason for people to be so ignorant about certain things. And what we're talking about is many of the Maroons in Jamaica who the ones called Maroons in Jamaica, who sold out and were signing treaties with white people, saying that they would take other captive Africans, if they found any, bring them back to the plantation. Fariji, apologies, we had a few technical difficulties there. Information basically just decided, the device rather just decided to fall. Those are not Maroons. They were referred to as Maroons. They were living in Maroon, in what would look like a Maroon encampment. However, they lost all privileges to be called or considered Maroons by their ancestors and by anybody living or dead, then or now. They lost their privileges. So if you start studying Maroonage and you run across them, don't think that Maroonage equals sellout. You have people that start in a position. Let's say you have a person who joins the police force, want to be good, and then gets corrupted. Look at the movie Training Day. But it only brought out the corruption within themselves anyway. It just wasn't pressed hard enough. But so it's kind of like that. You had a once good doctor who, starts to write all these extravagant prescriptions to make money and whatnot, because he's looking at other people making more money than him. So the corruption is drawn out of him. So those few Maroons that did that, the corruption was brought out of them by the opportunity given to them by the Yovo. True Maroons don't even really want to have nothing to do with Yovo unless it's business. Like, we're still in a world where we have to bump into them with business and stuff like that. Yovo means, in this particular case, Yovo is Europeans, but Yovo is, in the Aja language, a non-African. So, we're celebrating the Maroon within. We want to bring the Maroon out. What is the central tenet of a Maroon? Family development, nation building, movement towards sovereignty. Family is the first shrine. The ancestors come before all things. That is opposite of most biblical thinking, all biblical thinking. Protection of the family, elevation of the family, intergenerational wealth, intergenerational thinking on all things that make up a family, make up the human and the family and the nation. You thinking intergenerational and putting it in practice from that perspective. Let's say if we can do something enough here to cover 2 generations, the generation after us should be able to do at least 2 generations or 3 generations. And then we're covered for 5 generations. And then it goes on like that, and it becomes intergenerational. Ate baye baye in Yoruba language. So we're celebrating the spirit of Maroonage. This is also this weekend goes also into National Love Week at Ganlodo. So all aspects of love, dealing with heterosexual relationships, dealing with parents to child, friends, platonic friends, heterosexual friends, brotherhood, sisterhood, that type of thing. And so we want to be real clear if you didn't get it. We do not celebrate dissexual so-called love. We can never really have that anyway. And in this case, we're talking about dissexual, not just homosexual relations, but interracial relations. So we don't acknowledge that. That doesn't exist, as a matter of fact. So that is what Maroonage is. That is what the Quilombo is. The Quilombo is a space in the mind first before it could even be a physical space. Because if you go out there like some of those so-called Maroons in Jamaica, without the Quilombo in your mind, but you go to the physical Quilombo, that physical Quilombo is in trouble. And that's what happened after 100 years to Palmares, one of the greatest Quilombos, in about 1694, or so, something like that. So, celebrate the Maroon within yourself. If you do not know if you have Maroon ancestors, you can go and ask a qualified priest that does ancestral readings, in particular one that does roots reading. We do the roots reading. We do those kind of things too. And find out about your lineage in general, But this weekend we celebrate the Maroons. Odigba.